people are in so much pain and all we are is numbing them. Like, think about how crazy that is. Like, if we know that that's not going to fix the root cause and it's just this Band-Aid and people are in more and more pain because they're more and more stagnant, I'm just like, we have to change these things. And I think I just had so many moments like that in practice that I'm like, what am I doing? Like, how is this fair? What is going on? Like, it's not even that our healthcare system is doing it on purpose. It's just like how we've trained it. It's like a medical doctor studies medicine. That's their job. They're here to understand your symptoms or disease and prescribe you something. But the medication is great at fixing the symptom, but there's always side effects.
An entrepreneur straight out of New York City, Michael Charnoew. What's cracking?
What up, y'all? Welcome back to the Creatures of Habit podcast. And I am very excited to be sitting across from a guest that I've been trying to get on the show for some time, and we've had some scheduling conflicts. But I remember probably about 2-ish years ago, maybe a little longer, somebody had said, hey, have you been to Remedy Place on Sunset in Los Angeles? And I was like, no, but I've heard of it and I would love to go. And I don't remember who it was. I think maybe it was a publicist that I was working with in the city or something like that. Anyway, I went into this insane establishment and I walked in and I had already been exposed to Remedy Place is a social wellness. I want to call it just sanctuary. I mean, it's basically one of the most beautifully designed places you've ever walked into. And they have all of the different wellness remedies that your heart could desire, from hyperbaric chamber to infrared sauna to red light therapy to IV drips to a whole slew of other things that I'm sure Dr. John Leary, who's sitting across from me, can talk about. But I walked in here and I was like, I never want to leave this place. I went from the hyperbaric chamber to contrast therapy to IV drip in one session. And I was like, boom, I found my spot. And of course, I'm super busy and crazy. And so every time I think about, because now Remedy Place is also in New York City, and the visionary mastermind behind Remedy Place is sitting across from me now, Dr. Jonathan Leary. He is unbelievable. He's had a wellness practice for years before Remedy Place. He's a doctor of wellness, and he's a wellness doc, and he started his career in Los Angeles and built this really amazing, renowned name for himself, and then ultimately designed, developed, and launched this place called Remedy, which you must, if you like anything that I like, and if you listen to this podcast, I would imagine you got to check out Remedy Place when you're in Los Angeles and now in New York. Doc, welcome to the show. Thanks
for having me. Thanks for the kind words.
Absolutely, man. Obviously, you walk into the Remedy Place in LA and it's just this beautiful, like super welcoming environment, high ceilings, just really like neutral tones. It's kind of similar to this backdrop a little bit when you walk in.
Venetian blaster.
Yeah. But like you walk in and then the people at the front were just so kind. And they were just like, hey, go grab a seat. Can I grab a cup of tea? Like I just felt like, boom, felt really welcomed in there.
Yeah, we have the best team. Honestly, I'm so lucky and so grateful. But they're amazing. And it's important. Like whoever's taking care of you, you want to feel like you're being taken care of at all times. It's their passion, and it's you as the guest. It feels good, so it's very exciting.
What you just touched on, that first touch point. You know, I come from hospitality. I was working in restaurants all through high school. Did a little college. Decided college wasn't for me. Went to culinary school, and then I opened up my first restaurant when I was 29. And then I went on to open 13 restaurants over the course of whatever it was, 10, 11 years. And the way I explain the experience for a guest is not when somebody says the first thing to them. It's literally when their eyes see the establishment, see the place. Yeah. That is literally the first touch point of the experience. And then, of course, every single thing that happens from there on out is either going to be like a little scratch or a little ding, or like subconsciously like a bing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know? And so I just remember when I got to Remedy, from the minute I saw it, I was like, man, this, and then the people inside were just so kind. And so it was really, whatever you're doing there, you're killing it.
Yeah. I mean, we like to say we're designed to heal. Me going into healthcare, like shadowing, volunteering, doing everything I could for pre-med, working in hospital settings, wasn't the ideal environment, right? You know, people don't want to be there. Doctors are stressed. The environment's gross. The food's, I mean, everything's terrible. So at first, when I started working on it in 2012, it was just to create a beautiful concept. I'm like, the environment plays a major role in the healing process. And just like you want to, you know, be attracted and like have that first great impression, there's also environments that aid in the healing process or work against it. And I think, you know, most hospital settings, the first thing that people do is body tenses up, heart rate goes up. It's called white coat syndrome. You're having a negative physiological response. And I want to use the environment to do the exact opposite, so that when you step in, whatever it is that's applying to your senses or eyesight, it starts to shift you.
Outside of that, was that the real motivation to really sort of get people out of this like white coat syndrome? Or
Yeah. No, honestly, I had this interesting period where I did pre-med and I was doing everything I could, because you need to, you know, your resume needs to be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing that through my whole undergrad. And by my junior year, I was like, what am I doing? Like, is this really how I want to take care of people? And, you know, it's amazing what is done in hospital and clinical settings and like saving lives. But I'm like, one, like for the patients, it's stressful. For the doctors, it's not like this ideal lifestyle. So I kind of had this quarter life crisis where I'm like, I just spent every minute of every day trying to be like the most impressive candidate. And I'm like, do I actually want to even go to med school? And at that time, I'm like, maybe I just transition to alternative medicine. And I end up just falling into this route. I grew up in a small town in Rhode Island, knew nothing about alternative medicine. I just was like, maybe it's a new way that I can take care of people. And, you know, as a chiropractor, you're a primary care physician in California. I was like, I don't even know what chiropractor does, but I just want to have the scope to take care of people. So I went into that program never even knowing anything about alternative medicine. And I went to LA and people were talking about energy and I was like, people are crazy. I'm like, this is so woo-woo. There's no science. I thought it was nuts. And then you start learning the science behind all these things. You're like, wait, this actually works. When I started my doctorate, every Sunday I worked on that business plan. And it was just, how do I create a beautiful space in my own way to heal people? And then it evolved. And then when I graduated and went to the bank, I had this 158-page binder as a business plan. I knew nothing about business, but I Googled everything. And the woman kind of laughed at me. And she's like, sir, you have no money. And I was in all this student loan debt. And I'm like, well, that's why I need a loan. But, you know, I didn't know. So I pivoted and I opened up a concierge practice in sports medicine that I had for 5 years. And I got to use those 5 years to continually update the business plan. You know, what worked with patients, what didn't work, what were they willing to do, what were they not willing to do, what were all the common problems that I can create, you know, remedies for, and then also learning the business side. And by the end of 2019, I was able to open the first club.
What is a concierge practice?
So I traveled tour with my patients. So I started with pro athletes and then quickly realized, like, why am I just working with the healthiest bodies in the world when the average person's far more sick and in a lot more pain, but not getting anywhere near the same level of care? And I'm like, yes, an athlete is performing and we need to get them to perform, but we're all performing. So I was like, how can I just apply what I'm doing with them to the average person? And I was in LA. So I let people in the music and film industry into my practice and then corporate level executives. But it was a blend from everything from functional medicine, so all of your blood work, and then creating programs off your blood work, to chiropractic, to physiotherapy, to Chinese medicine, but all in one. So instead of going to 3 or 4 or 5 different doctors with different philosophies that aren't communicating with each other, I was the one-stop shop, but then I would be doing it at your home. And then I'd be putting hyperbaric chambers in your home, or maybe I'd be putting ice bath saunas while doing your rehab. And it was crazy, but I learned so much and kind of just created my own little niche. And, you know, not one of my patients in the history of those 5 years ever got surgery. And that's kind of what I became known for, is like, that's the guy that you go to if you don't want surgery. And once I had a couple like more public success stories, you know, it was just all word of mouth. And after 3 months, I had a wait list, and I got to just travel the world with cool people and cool families and save them from surgery. But my patients kind of became my mentors, and I learned so much from them. And I got to travel the world and do cool things. And I was just like building these strong relationships and getting to help them. And it was so much fun and so powerful. And I miss it, but there was a limitation there. You know, like one of my patients one day, she's like, you know, Dr. Leary, this is amazing. You have a wait list. Like, you're finally making money. But like, you keep saying you want to change healthcare. Like, how are you going to do that seeing one patient at a time? And I was like, I can't. And that's when I was like, I need to figure out Remedy. And now Remedy can just help so many more people than I can ever help. And, you know, that at scale, as we keep growing and growing and growing, you know, hopefully one day I can leave an impact on this healthcare industry.
What does that look like for you? What do you think that, you know, obviously, so you figured out that you can't trade your time for money, because that's not gonna get you as far as, you know, that sort of bit of a grandiose vision of actually making a dent in healthcare, right?
Yeah.
Like, what is the vision of that? Because you are a visionary. I mean, you've created this place, and what do you think it is?
It's through education. You know, at the end of the day, I can't make you healthy. Only you can make you healthy. And I always say your body's your number one asset and you don't even know how it works. How are you supposed to take care of something if you don't even know how it works? Like, that's absolutely crazy. And science shows that it's like 85 or 90% of all conditions can be positively affected or fixed by lifestyle changes. So if you imagine that the first line of intervention for all of the problems we have, unless it's an emergency, should be alternative or lifestyle changes or little things like, but no one knows. And it's crazy because I'd be working with billionaires or the most successful people in the world, and they had unlimited money to throw at whatever problem they had, and they were still getting the wrong advice. And I just realized, I'm like, the only way to fix this is just to put control back in your hands, but you have to know how to do it. And the foundational pillars of health are simple and free and way more cost effective. Like, you don't need to go to Remedy Place to be healthy. You know, go to Remedy Place is a luxury experience, it's a new way to socialize and feel better. But the foundational pillars of health are so much simpler. So my goal with Remedy is not to create hundreds of clubs. It's to create a brand that's a platform that is reliable and trustworthy, that then I can use to provide this free education. So as we keep growing and exceeding like our footprint and having more reach, the more we can just give back with the free education. I think that's how we can really, truly change the healthcare system and hopefully motivate and inspire other people, companies to then do the same. And not one company or one human can change the current state. You know, we need a gigantic movement. And I think I see it. And post-pandemic, the world woke up. We're realizing health on a whole nother level. And every single thing that I've been saying for the past 12 years that used to be like the most LA concept in the world is now the talking point of every single country in the world trying to figure out their wellness edge. When I said social wellness or self-care being a normal practice or self-care being the next fitness industry, or like especially the social wellness club, everyone's like, that's the most LA concept. That's not going to work anywhere else. And I'm like, no, like people need regular care and they also need a healthy way to socialize. And that was my biggest finding in my practice was when you made those lifestyle changes and you started taking care of yourself, my patients would say the same thing over and over again. They're like, Dr. Leary, I feel amazing. All my problems are gone, but this lifestyle is really isolating. Like everything that I did when I socialized was always bad. And they're like, so now I just don't do it. So then they were thinking that, oh wow, I'm more and more lonely because I'm healthy. And they used to get made fun of. Like maybe like 10 years ago, it was like weird to say, I'm not going to drink or eat a healthy way. Maybe people would like bust your chops.
Roll their eyes, yeah.
But now people are really looking for this new way to like, wait, I don't want to be alone. I want to socialize. I want to have fun. And alcohol consumption's drastically decreasing. And it's so cool to see. There was a study over the past 20 years just like indicating the trends of alcohol consumption. And 65 and older, they're still drinking strong or more. And then every generation below that's drinking less and less. So if you think of everything that people do when they socialize is usually centered around alcohol. And with that consumption decreasing, they need a new thing to socialize. So that's why like we're not a spa and it's not just an isolated experience where you go in a room by yourself. Like everything at Remedy, except for the hyperbaric chambers for now, is made to be social so that you can have a date there, a meeting there, go there instead of happy hour, go there instead of brunch, host an event, have your birthday party, bachelor party. And it's using human connection to make you feel better, but also enhance the connections that we have. And people are lonely right now. They feel so isolated. They feel like they don't have anyone they can lean on. They don't have friends. And we just need to change the narrative of how people socialize.
You know, it's so interesting. I like, as you're saying this, I couldn't agree more, right? I mean, I spent years. So I started my journey in the world of health and wellness about just under 20 years ago.
Wow.
When it was like, I like overdosed on heroin, needed to make a change, I had lived the last 10 years of my life before that like an absolute maniac, and found a little moment of grace to ask for help. 2 guys came in, swooped in, helped me get sober, and also introduced me to this fitness and wellness world. And it started with fitness, nutrition, and mindset as my foundation for success and happiness in my life.
Yeah.
However, I've been doing that for the last almost 20 years now. I'm in recovery a long time, but for the first 10, 15 years of that, I was the guy that people would just roll their eyes at.
Yeah.
They'd be like, oh yeah, he's probably not having dessert tonight, or don't order pizza for him. He's not gonna have any. Chuckle, or like, I just dealt with that, right? And now it's amazing for me to see how much that has changed.
Yeah.
But one thing that I was thinking about when you were talking about the social wellness component is like, I remember I've been to Japan and I've been to Hong Kong, and a way that I like to sort of see a city is I like to run. I like to run in the morning. I'll go for like a run around the city.
Yeah.
I won't run all over the city, but I'll go for a run. I'll check it out. I'll sort of scout out where we're gonna go for the day. And in those 2 places, it was just it's unbelievable to see the sheer amount of people that are out in the morning in just massive groups doing Tai Chi, doing some sort of martial art, like together in the parks.
Yeah.
I'm talking about groups of like 50 to 75, 85-year-old women doing Tai Chi together with music. I mean, I was just like, this is the original, this is the OG sort of like group fitness, group wellness. Like this is it. This is like how these people stay healthy. And it was so like, at the time I was like, wow, that's pretty crazy. You like never see that here in the United States. Like, never.
Yeah.
But I will say over the last few years, I stay in Williamsburg, Brooklyn when I come here most of the time now. And the community at the park in Williamsburg called McCarran Park, the community at the track at like 6, 7 o'clock at night is just on fire, man.
Wow.
Like I've never seen before.
I'm gonna have to join you.
Oh, dude, it is like I literally was on a run, and I don't really go running around the track because I find that to just be boring. But I ran by the track a few months ago, and I was like, oh my God, there are so many people here working out together. So I believe that you're right. Like you can have a journey in health and fitness and isolate yourself.
Yeah.
And also in preventative care, like doing things that are, going to help you or help stave off the bad news.
Yeah.
Which is ultimately what you're doing with Remedy, right? Like you're literally opening up these sort of relatively new practices for people to indulge in, but in a setting where they can do it with friends.
Yeah.
Out of the remedies that you offer at Remedy Place, like which do you love?
I honestly, everything's there because I use it all, and they're all built into my routine. I hate saying it because I say it over and over again. I talk about it so much, but ice baths, for me, working so much, and then just the stage I'm at in my career where it's like nonstop all the time, and sometimes I need like the fastest shift to my like mental health or physical health, and there's nothing that can shift you mentally or physically faster than 6 minutes in an ice bath. And it's just so powerful when you actually think of like, it does so much more than anyone ever expected. And there's always like, oh, it's just an athlete thing. It's just a post-workout recovery thing. And for me, it's so much more of a mental thing. And I think in a time and a place where people feel like they don't control their mind or their bodies, this is the perfect practice to remind yourself that you're in control and that you actually control your physiology and that you can train your physiology to be in control. And that's so powerful. I'll never forget, like, we almost didn't put ice baths into Remedy. And because it was like, how do you make that into an experience? It's also good. That's also worked for the business. And that's why on my retreats, I always did it in a class format. And then last minute, I ended up changing it and putting it into the club because I did my biggest retreat yet. It was like 4 or 5 months before we opened the West Hollywood Club, and it was 60 people. And usually my retreats were like 15 to 20. And we did 10-person breathwork ice bath class all day. And it was just like, everyone was so emotional. Everyone was so excited. Everyone, it was like, this is 5 or 6 years ago. So like everyone was like, that's the most powerful thing I've ever done. And I'm like, wait, I'm going to open Remedy Place and not have this? And like seeing this reaction. So I actually delayed construction and came back and switched one of our sauna suites into this ice bath classroom to see like if it would work. And come to find out, it ended up being the biggest thing about Remedy, because we're the first place in the world to turn it into a class format. But also, like, we put every major celebrity in their first ice bath. I don't care that it's the celebrity, but I care about all these people with crazy platforms then shared their experience or talked about it. And when we're talking about things like ice baths have been around forever, and they've never, ever gotten the attention. But when you start having people that have millions or tens of millions or hundreds of millions of followers share, oh my God, I just did 6 minutes. I'm so proud of myself and I feel so good and I've never felt this way. Everyone that doesn't feel good then realizes like, oh wait, maybe I want to do that. And when I'm not kidding you, like I would say a large majority of every celebrity that is now doing it, Remedy was their first place.
Came through
And,
Dr. Jonathan Leary.
Yeah, and like when we started, like even we did a TikTok, and my team made fun of me. So like when the pandemic shut down and everyone was home, it was like, oh, I'm just gonna post some ice bath videos. I started getting tens of millions of views, and I'm like, holy shit! Like this is like people are actually seeing this. This is gonna be impactful. And then my team was like, TikTok's for kids. Like, what are you doing? Don't stop. So we stopped, but we had hundreds of millions of views on our ice bath classes, and I'm like, where am I ever gonna get hundreds of millions of views to put out education? And it was just a big wake-up call that I'm like, if our mission is free education and we just need more of a reach, social media is the rise of the awareness of all these things. Because, you know, a chiropractor or meditation or acupuncture, they never had the money to go put an ad on TV or a billboard. So unless your friend told you about it, you would never know. But now with social media and people that have followings sharing, it's been the biggest reason. And I think even before the pandemic, I was at a conference like 7 or 8 years ago, and they were saying the rise of alternative medicine was strictly due to the rise of social media, because it was free marketing and free awareness. And once you try these things, you know it works. I don't need a research article to tell me the effects. Like I have my Whoop now, like it will tell me it works. Like I can have my own data in real time. But even if I didn't have that, like I would know how much better I felt. And for me as a science-backed individual, that I follow everything to the T about science, but I also realize that science, we're not there to understand science to the level that it needs to be for some of the things that we're doing. And I can't do a double-blind study on an ice bath. I can't do a double-blind study on an acupuncture needle going to my body or an adjustment. So it's just like, it's crazy that there's still resistance. But I'm up for the resistance. And I think as Remedy goes, I don't need to keep like screaming from the rooftops. I just need to show. And as you know, we are able to capture more data. Hopefully we can publish research, and then I can prove to all the people that need research articles to show them like, hey, like this actually does work. And this is actually how we need to take care of people. And we're reminded every single day, like you will always leave feeling better. Walking into Remedy, you always leave feeling better than you walked in. Like tell me most healthcare settings that's true. You know? And I think it's like preventative care is not, it's a luxury in some sense of these services, but it's almost like a necessity. And like for me, the fact that these things aren't covered by insurance, when we know prevention is key for longevity in our health, it is freaking mind-blowing. And it kills me. And it's just like, I don't know, it's always what's bugged me. Because it's like my practice was amazing, but I was working with the most crazy individuals, and I'm like, what is the average person? Like, I remember one of my patients told me one day, she's like, she was in pain for, I don't know if this one was like 3 or 10 years of chronic issues, and no one could get her pain free. Just sold her company for over $1 billion. And she's like throwing everything at it. And after 3 weeks, she was pain free. And she was crying.
What did you do with her?
Just everything from her functional medicine to full rehab. Like, the thing is, like, when someone's in pain, that just means something's not moving properly. You start restoring motion in the joints, the muscle, the fascia, their body starts to heal. And if you're moving right, pain will disappear. But what stuck with me, and I actually started to cry on the way home because she was crying, and she's like, you know, John, like if I didn't find you, what would I have done? And like, what does someone do that can't afford someone like you? And I'm like, they're probably on pain medications for a while or for their life. And that's why we have an opioid crisis. Like we can't just, if you're in pain, something's not moving right. Numbing something that's not moving is never going to fix the issue. And if you don't address it, like your body's good at being in an antalgic position or moving in a certain way to start alleviating that pain, but then it starts showing up somewhere else. And I just remember like, how is it that we can have We're in the United States of America with unlimited resources, things at our fingertips, and people are in so much pain, and all we are is numbing them. Like, think about how crazy that is. Like, if we know that that's not going to fix the root cause, and there's just this Band-Aid, and people are in more and more pain because they're more and more stagnant, I'm just like, we have to change these things. And I think I just had so many moments like that in practice that I'm like, what am I doing? Like, how is this fair? What is going on? Like, it's not even that our healthcare system is doing it on purpose. It's just like how we've trained it. It's like a medical doctor studies medicine. That's their job. They're here to understand your symptoms or your disease and prescribe you something. But the medication is great at fixing the symptom, but there's always side effects, but it's very rarely ever fixing the root cause. And it's like now there's just so much money and power behind Big Pharma that it's like we're missing the majority of what we should be doing. So it's just like we need so many corrections and so many changes, but I'm here for it.
Like, I came up with this idea probably around 2018, and it's something that I think I'm going to figure out a way to do. When I was a little kid, I was born in 1980, and in like 84 or 85, there was something called Hands Across America.
Okay.
And it was a movement for the fight against AIDS.
Okay.
And everybody across America, not everybody, but many, many people, vast majority of people that lived in the United States because of how severe the AIDS situation was, and people were just dying. Like, it was insane in the 80s. I mean, I was very young, and so it was hard for me to really remember, but I do remember Hands Across America. And at the same time, on a Saturday or a Sunday morning, people across America linked hands, and it went everywhere.
Really?
Yeah, it went everywhere. And I don't know if it literally the link crossed the whole country, but in every town, every city, all across the United States, all across America, people linked hands at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was a wonder. It was like this really beautiful thing, right? And I know for myself that I've been able to change my life, my health, mental, physical, spiritual, through movement.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of came up with this idea called the Move Movement, and super simple.
Yeah.
Everybody, we'd get enough people to support it with influence and platform, and just say, on this day, we're all going to walk 10,000 steps.
Amazing.
Across America. Everybody that wants to participate in this thing is just going to walk 10,000 steps. And that would be the the sort of inaugural, hey, this is the 10,000 steps movement. Because I just believe that we don't move.
Yeah. And movement cures.
I mean, I think we just don't move.
And honestly, just walking is so powerful. Like, it's actually how crazy that, like, all we need to do is walk. Like, and it's that simple. If everyone walked 10,000 steps a day,
we'd be in a totally different place.
Yeah.
How crazy is that?
Simple, free, anyone that has the capabilities to walk. But seriously, like, that's what I'm saying, that there's so many foundational, simple things that cost nothing that make a substantial impact. But no one's ever taught you, like, oh, you have to walk every day because that's part of you being healthy. We just take it for granted, like, oh, I don't need to walk. I'm just gonna drive everywhere. Like, in LA, no one walks. Here, I think that's one of my favorite things about New York City is
my favorite thing.
Yeah.
25,000 steps.
Yeah. Walking and being spontaneous. That's why I love New York City so much, outside of obviously the big things. But I'm like, the fact of every meal, walking after every meal, like, that's one of my biggest rules or trainings for any patient or anyone that, watches the platform, is like, the more you eat, the more you have to walk. If you eat bad, walk longer. And like, you should always go for a long walk after every meal. That'll help you digest. It'll help everything flow. And it's that easy.
I don't live in New York City anymore. I live about 2.5 hours north of New York City. And one of my favorite things about living here my whole life, for the most part, was I walked everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I rode a motorcycle for many years, just getting from restaurant to restaurant, but it was like walking was just a part of my life, right? From a kid, I grew up in Manhattan, so we just literally walk everywhere. Moving upstate was like a very eye-opening experience for me, because I was like, oh my gosh, wait a second. Now I get it. Now I understand. I need to schedule my walk every day. So 4 o'clock every single day,
wow.
I walk. And I have said to my team, I've shared it often on social media, we're all if you're working from home, we're all sort of trained to do this. It has to be a virtual meeting.
Yeah.
Whereas before the pandemic, everything was done on a call.
Yeah.
It was a call. It was a conference call. It was a call. Like, you don't need to see my face.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you want to get like a thing to hold your camera while you're walking so that everybody else can feel comfortable enough that they can see your face, do it. But from 4 o'clock to 5:30, my assistant knows that this is my time when I'm walking. And it doesn't mean that I'm not working. It means that I'm walking. I could still work while I'm walking. I could still take phone calls. I could listen in on calls if I have to. But it's been such a piece of like, hey, if you don't live in a metropolitan city where walking is just like what you do, you have to make sure to schedule a walk, just like it's a meeting. It's scheduled a walk. You have to be intentional about it. And I could totally understand and see why the majority of the United States of America does not do that, because our jobs are far less manual these days than they used to be.
Yeah.
Right? So most people are just not walking anywhere. They literally wake up, they go take a shower, take a poop if they're lucky, and go to the car, get in the car, walk from the car parking lot to their office, sit down at their desk, walk from their desk to the bathroom, maybe a few times throughout the day, desk back to their car to their house to the couch, and that's it. What are they getting? Maybe 1,500 to 2,000 steps a day.
Yeah.
If they're lucky.
It's just scary.
It's crazy.
Scary.
It's crazy, man. I want to talk to you about your morning routine because I have a feeling you have a good one.
Oh, man. I mean, my whole life is pretty regimented. In the morning, I think obviously consistency is key. So I wake up regardless of alarm clock or not at the same time.
What time is that?
Mine's right before 6 a.m. And then it depends on, because right now I'm back and forth a lot, so it messes with it a little bit. But wake up at 6 a.m., drink 15 ounces of water. That's the first thing I do. I keep it next to my bed and make sure it's like I don't get out of bed until I finish, or like stand up from my bed until I finish that.
Is 15 like a specific number, or is this just what works for you?
Honestly, it's just like getting through half of my liter is just like it's like, I don't know, in my head, I don't know if there's any science to it as far as that, but I have my set amount that I need to drink throughout the day. And I feel like that's just a nice way to jumpstart, especially after being dehydrated all night. Mm-hmm. Then it's still usually dark out, and now it's light out in New York, so it's finally getting a little nicer. But then I have this thing called biocharger. It's this it's electrical frequency machine. It's a therapy. It's a 13-minute session. I'll do my breath work with that, and then I take a cold shower and I run to the gym. So I try to get out as fast as I can.
The biocharger.
Yeah.
What is it the thing that you sit in front of and you can kind of see the electricity going through it? And there's different settings on it?
Yeah.
So talk to us about that.
Yeah. So there's, frequency is a real thing. There's medical devices that deliver frequency into the body, and every single cell in your body responds better to a certain frequency. So like your bone versus tissue, like by sending that frequency in there, think of it as like something that's sick. It's going to be a very chaotic, think of it as like cloud of energy. Think of it as like an atom. And with more chaos, there's less healing. But by creating synchronicity, by setting a certain frequency into that tissue, it can achieve homeostasis faster, and that balance helps healing. So this device has been around for like over 20 years, and it's kind of crazy, and it's a newer thing for me. But I drastically feel a shift.
In what way?
I honestly just feel so charged by it. And, like I'm going to do my breath work anyways. So
what's your breath work?
It varies, but I usually follow in the morning the Wim Hof's method, which is very simple, very easy. I'll do 3 rounds of it, and I can get it done within the time frame that the other therapy's done. And I always try to bundle things. Like if I'm going to sit there, I might as well try to get as many things as possible. I also have like a red light machine, but I don't want to put it too close to the other machine. So I usually keep it separate and do my red light before bed. Mm-hmm. But it's powerful. And I think these things, it's like, why not give them a shot, see how I feel. And I track my data and I see how it works and how it doesn't work. And I can see like a week with it on, a week with it off, a day with it on, day with it off. And right now it's like, I need to constantly test, not only for me to figure out how I can be the healthiest I can be so I can do more, but then also to figure out and test always new things I can put into remedy, because everything's in remedy because I know it works. Mm-hmm. And I've tested it out in patients and myself for a very long time. And I don't just put new things in remedy because it's cool or flashy or the latest and greatest tech. Like most of the things in Remedy have been around for a very long time. Just people maybe just not been exposed to it. And that's really important to me as like building this reputation and this brand that you can trust, that it's not a gimmicky thing that I'm throwing into the club. So best way to test it is always on me or patients at the time. And
all right, so you wake up same time, you immediately drink water. Anything in the water?
no.
I would imagine it's room temp because it's sitting next to you.
Yeah, room temp.
water. Because I know for me, I love drinking cold water in the morning, but when I do it, my whole entire body changes.
Wow.
My hands turn purple. Like I've also got all sorts of funky autoimmune shit, but like it's really weird when I drink cold water in the morning. Like my body temperature drops and my hands get like purple and all sorts of weird shit happens. But room temp is for me way better.
Yeah.
But
in Chinese medicine, like they say, you should never drink cold water, you know, and if you're trying to stimulate blood flow to your organs and all your core, warm temperature is going to help. So, I mean, that's just even a Chinese medicine philosophy, but I agree. Room temp is actually better for you.
So wake up, water, then you go to is it biocharger? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Biocharger. How long have you been doing that?
That's a new thing for the past month. I just got it.
Oh, cool.
But I've always done breath work. So now instead of just doing breath work on the floor, I'm just
So biocharger and breath work, and then cold shower.
Cold shower.
Just walk us through your cold shower real quick. Like I think so. You're the first person ever on this show to mention biocharger, so I'm so excited. It makes me so stoked when somebody brings up a new therapy. But cold shower, I get a lot of questions from people asking about cold shower and like.
Yeah.
Is there a good way? Is there a right way or a wrong way to do it? Do you stand completely submerged? Do you let it hit your chest? Do you let it hit your back? Do you move around? Like, what do you do?
Yeah. So there's not a right or wrong way, but there's definitely a better way. And I always think for me, starting less aggressive, I always have a normal temperature shower. I'll step out, take a nice deep breath in, out, a couple of breaths, turn as cold as it can, and just step in. And, you know, it's a really healthy amount for like 1 to 3 minutes. It took me a while to get 3 minutes, and I hate cold showers. I just like how I feel after. Like I would much rather be in an ice bath, but being hit with cold water versus just being submerged and going numb is so much harder. But because it's harder is the reason why I do it, because I need to become more resilient. And like,
why?
Because if you're ever scared of something or if anything's ever hard, that shouldn't be a reason not to do it. And I think now we're told all the time, you know, it's like, don't do that. That's too stressful. Don't do this. And it's not about doing less and less. It's about just like we go to the gym to use resistance to be strong and to build muscle, we need resistance in every part of our life to train different systems to be strong. And I think just from a mental health standpoint, I think the reason why we have a lot of mental health problems is because we're avoiding things, not doing things, and then creating all these, I mean, I can go on and on about that, but I won't say too much. But long story short, we're supposed to do things hard. We're supposed to, you know, be uncomfortable. When you're uncomfortable and you're doing things that aren't normal for you, that's where you grow. I think that's super important. So I lasted to 3 minutes, but 1 to 3 minutes should be your goal.
So what is that? So, and just like, are you just literally standing under the cold
Head
water?
under. Yeah.
Head under.
Yeah. Aggressive.
Ooh, like on the face or on you hitting
Or,
your back?
or I'll move. You know, the more you move, the harder it is. But yeah, I just have it right on my face. No better way. And then I actually, before I go to the gym, I do in my water bottle, I add amino acids, creatine, and some collagen, and I drink that through my workout.
Cool. Do you have, I mean, maybe you can, maybe you can't say the brands, but do you have any brands that you like for those?
Yeah, I actually really like Thorne. I use Thorne for my branched chain amino acids and my creatine.
Cool.
And then I actually don't know off the top of my head what my collagen one is, but they're all just like clean and pure. It's not about the brand for me, it's just about the quality.
Yeah.
And then I change up my workout every day. So every day is a little something different.
Wow. So you never do the same workout?
I do. Oh, same every week.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
On Tuesday, Thursdays, I do a workout class called Army, which is like a boot camp for like sport specific movements that I would normally never do.
Mm-hmm.
Good music, good energy, good community there. I'm not the most coordinated person, so it definitely like tests me a little bit, which is great. On Sundays, I do hot yoga. That's just been a nice new ritual for me every Sunday. And routine's important, right? I think obviously to change up your workouts every day, but then also I have a rule of like every city that I live in, I need 5 communities. And those communities are different groups of people, different environments, and it has to be something that I do at least once a week. And I think that's a really impactful thing, especially when talking about human connection and my whole thing about community. I can talk to you about that after.
5 communities. I just want to hear about what are your 5 communities in New York?
Yeah. So 1, my work. So Remedy being like my workplace. We have a very big team and I interact with them all day. That's one community for me. The Army community that I do Tuesday and Thursday. It's like my 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. workout, same group of people. I don't interact with them outside of that. So it's just like another, distinct group of people. My hot yoga on Sunday. Then I have a group of my buddies that is like my go-to.
Your crew.
My crew. And then what I've done is my 5th one in New York, I had a hard time trying to find one. So I was like, what am I going to do? And I had like this one thing that was at the Harvard Club, and I was going to that every week. And then my schedule was getting crazy. And I was like, all right, well, if I can't find a community, I'm going to create one. And I was like, I live in a studio, so I can't like host a dinner party every week. But I decided that I'm going to start creating this thing called like a Remedy After Hours, where I bring together a group of people that I curate. And when Remedy closes one night a week, I invite them. And then it's a good way for me to be a connector and connect people that I think should meet.
That's fun.
And I'm like, this is where, like maybe someone doesn't have a remedy to do it, but like maybe they start a walking club where they're like, I'm just going to meet, a certain group of people or invite 3 or 4 people every week to this. And I think so many people, like we used to historically have so many different communities. There's this one podcast I listened to and it really stuck with me. And it was like, you used to have your religion, you'd have your family, you'd have your work, you might have your bowling league, then you'd actually like hang out with your neighbors. So you had different communities.
Right.
And, as me trying to figure out how to be a better business leader and make my employees happier, like I kept finding, I'm like, how can I satisfy all the needs of my employees? Like now people expect their work to be their moneymaker, their passion, their community, maybe their therapy. It's supposed to be everything. And I don't think one person or one community or one thing can be your everything. And like as I studied that, and I was just like, okay, how do I make this better and better for my team? I realized it can't be everything for everyone, and the work shouldn't be. So as I was taking that into my practice of like, all right, how do I become healthier? One of my things that I worked on to become healthier was establishing more communities. And it was just really impactful. So it was like something that didn't sound normal. And I remember saying it on a panel that I was on. They're like, wait, what? And then everyone was like, that was the coolest thing that we've heard. And I was like, no, this is actually a thing. Like we have to be around different perspectives and different people and diverse communities. Because if you hang out with the same people over and over again, you're going to just turn into those people. And that could be a good or bad thing, but it's definitely not going to help make you more diverse or give you different thought processes or different outlooks at life. And I think that's the problem is, one, being fortunate to have one group of people or one person is very powerful. And most people don't have that. So I don't want to not address that is something that is very important. But once you have one, start trying. It could be going to the same coffee shop every morning and just knowing the person that, takes your order. Like those little touch points are really powerful. And I think just like walking is very simple. If you can't find communities, you can create them and, grow them one step at a time. And then figure out in each one of those communities, how are you giving back to that community? It's not just about you getting something energetically from that and feeling supported or doing something different. It's like, no, you need to provide value to these people or different groups. And you figure out how that like energetic exchange is even and how that enhances your life. And maybe that community doesn't last for long, and that's okay. So I think relationships or communities can come and go. And, as you're growing and developing, there's going to be different things for different times of your life. So it doesn't have to be the same human connections or the same communities, but we need to work on having more connections and more communities.
The alignment that I have with that is so strong. I feel like I've been blessed for the whatever it was, 12 to 39. That whatever that is, what is that? 30 years basically. That I spent in hospitality and I spent in restaurants, and I was able to really sort of completely immerse myself in connecting with humans at scale in person.
Yeah.
That was just, if people were to ask me, if someone asked me, hey, like, what is your superpower? Really, I think for me, it is the ability to meet somebody and connect with them.
Yeah.
Innately.
Yeah.
And that is what I love to do. That is genuinely what I love to do. the most fun I've had in my life has always been with other people.
Yeah.
There's like, I can't point to a moment where I was like, oh my God, that one time alone was just so much better than that time I had laughing with friends and family.
Yeah. Think of how crazy it is, because think of wellness in the past was always an isolated experience.
Mm-hmm.
Go to the spa for your alone time. You need you time. But that's not like
There's never, I think there's super value. There's
Yeah.
a lot of value in that. Being able to like set boundaries and saying, I actually want to do this alone.
Yeah.
But when you really think about joy,
Yeah.
like joy, it always is around laughter,
Yeah. And human
storytelling,
connection.
human connection, you know? And so when I really think about like what you said, it's sad for me because guys my age and younger, the number one issue that they have, from my experience in sort of coaching guys and being a business owner and just trying my best to connect with people on social and platform and stuff like that, is having a hard time finding friends.
Yeah.
Having a hard time having that community outside of either your relationship with your family or your relationship at work.
I think, I don't want to butcher this or say it online, but it was something like this. I was at a conference and they said pre and post pandemic, from like the latest stat from last year, from before, the average adult male was 40% of males before the pandemic said they would have at least one person they could rely on or support. And I want to say that it was something like, right now, the last study last year was like 20-something%. It's scary.
What's going on?
I mean, it's like people are isolating themselves more and more. And with like mental health becoming a major problem and social media and just being sucked into technology and screen time, like
It's the worst thing that's ever happened to humankind.
it's scary.
It's the worst thing. I mean, I know that like we've talked about it a number of times of how it's been a benefit for you, especially with your business and the free education component,
Yeah.
and the ability to like actually talk about things that were never possible for people, even in the restaurant business. Unless you were McDonald's, you were never spending money on marketing and advertising.
Yeah.
Right? Like it was like people standing in front of your restaurant handing out flyers.
Yeah.
That was it. Now social media has given restaurants an opportunity to get out there and really advertise without having to spend money. That said, I personally believe, I see it in my children, they don't get any of it, but the second they do, the only time those kids get their hands on a piece of technology is on plane rides or super long car rides, which we don't typically take.
Yeah.
But on a plane, they get an iPad. It's the only time they get it. And it's scary. It's scary to see what happens to these kids, to the brain.
You see it just with how people socialize. You know, I feel like every generation below us, like they're getting more and more socially awkward because they don't have the basic human skills of communication. And the less you put kids around kids, the less they're going to be able to have social cues, conversational skills. It's just crazy because it's like digital connections are never going to ever match the same level of physical relationships. Like social media, people think they have the relationships with these people, and then they have false hope, and then they're like so discouraged that they don't, in real life, it's like they don't want to live their life because they'd rather be on their phone or play a video game because that is their connection. But they don't realize that that connection is just going to be a lonely one.
It's really, really rough. All right, so I want to get back to this routine though. So you finish your cold shower, you drink your creatine, your aminos, and your collagen, and then you hit the gym. You change your workout, but you stick to a plan every week. But it's a different workout every day for the most part on a weekly basis. And then I assume you get to work after that.
Yeah.
I want to talk about sleep.
As a health professional, knowing how important sleep was, that was something that I always took for granted. I was like, oh, like, I don't need a lot of sleep. 4 or 5 hours, working 100-hour work weeks. I'm like, I feel fine. I'm healthy. I'm doing all the right things. I don't need sleep. And it honestly wasn't until I started taking my wearables seriously that I started to realize, like, oh, shit, like, it really does throw you off. It's like your physiology's so thrown off. It doesn't matter how good I eat, how good I work out, how happy I am, how, like, fulfilled I am that I'm working my passion. Like my physiology cannot be where it needs to be if I don't sleep. And that was a really big constant reminder that didn't matter how much I took care of myself. I'm like, over time, all these things that I see being diminished in my physiology with my biometrics, that's how issues evolve. Like it's not that I don't feel good every single day, or that I can go years or a decade with 4 or 5 hours of sleep. It's the ongoing result of what that builds to. And then I saw it with patients, like it's not that, they were sick. They just woke up one day and were sick. It's like you're getting closer and closer to the cliff edge. And then one day that one little thing they think are so stupid, pushed you off. And you're like, how did this happen? Like, I'm so healthy. And it doesn't matter. Like, it's those other little things like sleep. It's another free thing that is so important for our daily recovery. And most people have a really hard time sleeping. Also scary.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a wind down routine that you like to stick to?
Yeah. My biggest thing that I'm working on right now is I don't have my phone or anything with a screen for 30 minutes before bed. I really wish that was an hour, but usually after my dinner meetings, I'm like always doing emails to catch up. But I'm working on that. I turn my thermostat down to 66. I, do my normal like shower, brush my teeth. I have a red light cap that I put on my head for my hair growth because I was bald a couple of years ago. Finally,
Really?
I feel like my hair is getting back to
Wait, you were fully bald?
fully bald.
Come on.
Fully bald.
Wow. And red light cap?
I had a follicular hair transplant.
Yeah.
But honestly, I did that 3.5 years ago, and it helped a lot. But my hair was always so thin, so I always had a buzz cut.
Mm-hmm.
But
I would never in a billion years
crazy.
ever think that. That's crazy.
But red light, rosemary, peppermint. I have like a whole routine for my hair that is like drastically shifted it. But I do that, and then I do this jaw exerciser. So I have a red light cap on, this jaw exerciser.
Super attractive.
So sexy. Yeah, good thing I'm single and in bed alone. And then it gets worse. And then I use those 6 minutes to do, I call it a visualization manifestation. Like I'm a very visual person. So I close my eyes and I try to see what life looks like when I have that thing. And that could be relationship, it could be happiness, it could be work, it could be health oriented, whatever it is. It changes every day, whatever comes to my mind. And then I take those off, slap on some mouth tape, and get under the covers and go to bed. But that's my nighttime routine.
I love that. So it's so funny, man, that you say this. I'll tell you a really funny story. So I've got a very similar thing. At night, I got all the things. I got the mattress chiller. I got
I have 8 sleep too.
Yeah,
game changer.
Yeah, game changer. I got blackout shades, sleep with white noise, eye mask.
I have the eye mask too.
Yeah, I actually, so I have just found for me that I love reading before bed, and then I have this I wear my eye mask, but I have this headband that has speakers in it. So I always fall asleep to an audiobook, and
wow.
I never retain any of it. It's always something super heavy. Okay. So I'm like, it's interesting for about a minute, but literally my latency is unbelievable. Like I literally put my head down, I hit play on the thing, I put on a 50-minute timer, and I'm out. However, I'll tell you a funny story. So my wife does none of this shit. You and I are like simpatico on all these therapies and remedies.
People think they're crazy.
Oh, people think I'm nuts. People roll their eyes at me and make fun of me about it. But the truth is, like you, it makes me feel great. Yeah. I love doing all the things. The only thing that I don't have in my house that you have at Remedy that I probably should get, although I had a very scary experience with a hyperbaric chamber.
What happened?
I'd done hyperbaric chamber at Remedy. Awesome experience. Nothing felt great. I then did stem cell down in Colombia, hyperbaric chamber, like long stints of hyperbaric chamber. Great. I went to this place up by me that had a hyperbaric chamber.
Okay.
And I was in the hyperbaric chamber, no issue. But once they started to bring me down, all of a sudden I felt like insane, like pressure in my chest.
Okay.
And then I felt like I was gonna have a heart attack.
Huh.
And then I went completely pale, and it was crazy. And apparently, they like depressurized too fast.
Do you know what pressure you were at?
I have no idea, but it was scary as hell for me.
Okay.
And I think the people were just totally inexperienced.
Yeah.
And I saw her like a couple of weeks later, and her boyfriend or whoever was there was doing it for me, and she was like, "You have no idea how scared I was that you had the bends." Like I was so scared.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she was like, I was like a second away from sending you to the hospital. how scared I was that you had the bends, because it was an experience that rocked me.
Yeah.
So I've been scared to go into the hyperbaric chamber, thinking that like maybe it was something going on with me and maybe it wasn't the hyperbaric chamber.
Yeah.
But it's weird.
And there's different grades. Like there's like the medical grade and there's mild pressure. There's ones that just use, changes in the concentration gradient. There's ones that use oxygen. If you get a mild pressure chamber, which is probably the thing that you need most, because you're not, unless, I don't know if you're in it for a certain reason, but for like most mild things and just preventative care, mild pressure chambers, we're just using atmospherical pressure changes versus pumping in oxygen. It's safe, it's easy, and it's like, you can't really overdo it.
I have chronic Lyme.
Okay.
So that's kind of, I've heard that hyperbaric is really, really good for Lyme disease.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming out about that.
But what I was going to say was I got, when mouth tape came out, I got sent like 5 different types of mouth tape from 5 different, mouth tape people. And I said to myself, I don't know if I believe in this stuff, whatever. So one night I pull it out, and my buddy actually, from a guy that I really like, sent me his mouth tape. And I said, my wife was like, "Oh, what is that?" And I was like, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's tape. I'm gonna put it over my mouth. It's gonna make sure that I do nose breathing. I don't snore, and I really do focus on breathing through my nose when I like as I'm going to sleep. I'm like, all right, we're nose breathing." She was like, no, that's it. She's like, I'm not. I can't. You can't do that. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, you wear a fucking bandana, eye mask. You freezing cold. That shit bleeds onto my side of the bed. There's noise in the room. She's like, if you put that tape on your mouth, I'm out. And I was like, I'll just wait for you to fall asleep.
Shut up.
I was like, you can't tell me what I can and can't do. I was like, and she's like, if you ever want to have sex with me again, you will not put that. She's like, I have a hard enough time looking at you in your current state in bed. She's like, that will be the straw that broke the camel's back.
Oh man.
And I was like, all right, okay, I get it. But have you noticed any one of those things that you do help impact your slow wave or REM?
100%.
Which one?
All of it. I honestly think each thing I try to not do it all at once. I try to just add it one by one after having it in my routine. It's also easier to build a routine when you couple it with something that's already in there. And every single little thing, and also believing that it does it enhances it even more. But I just know that my life isn't going to get any easier. I'm going to keep working harder and harder. I have too much shit to do at all times. And the only way I can accomplish more is to be healthier. So I look at this as everything that I interact with, anything I do, anything I put in around my body that either helps me get to my goals or slows me down. And my goals aren't always work. It's achieving all the things I want in life, happiness, relationships, communities, friendship, whatever. All of these things, I've just found that every time I take it another notch, become even healthier, everything just gets I just control my life more. And it's like a flow state that just keeps getting better and better and better. And then you start realizing that your thoughts and everything, once you figure out how much everything that you do controls the outcome of everything in your life, it's why wouldn't I do every single thing possible? Because I get one life, I think, and I want to do a lot with this life. So I think it's just something we take for granted, and most people are born with these healthy bodies, and we just destroy it majority of our lives, and then one day we get sick and we're like, how? But it's just if you're born with a healthy body, you should be investing everything you can into it, because everything in life gets better the healthier you are, and it's just powerful. I think it's just another thing that we weren't taught, and it's just something that I've found as my career keeps getting going, that it's just wow, you can do more, you can handle more, you can have your cake and eat it too, you can do everything you want in life. Just be healthier, and it's easier. Not always easier. It's harder, but the outcome's better.
I like to think of it as, why not live your life to the fullest if you can?
Yeah.
Every day we get an opportunity to put numbers up on the board, or not.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's not guaranteed, and yesterday's long gone, right? And so I do strongly believe that taking the steps that were, and it's a luxury, there's no doubt about it, right? It is a luxury to be able to wake up early and, go sit in a red light and go do this, there's so many things that we can do, but there's also so many alternatives to those things that anybody can do.
Yeah. Cold shower, walk, tape your mouth shut.
Yeah, totally. And it's funny. I was coming up yesterday. I was coming out of the train station, and it was on 42nd Street. Was it on 42nd Street, or it was somewhere around here? So many people around. And I was walking towards the exit, and there were 3 escalators on the right side and a big flight of steps. And I looked at that, and I was like,
no one on the stairs.
Dude, I was like, this is the crossroads of life.
Crazy.
This is the crossroads of life, right? Like, what are you going to decide to do? Are you going to walk to the right, or are you going to walk to the left? I personally always take the stairs because I'm like, fuck it, why wouldn't I take the stairs? Like, I get the few extra steps in, you know what I mean? Like, there's not a single soul walking up those stairs.
Yes.
Not a single one.
And
I was like, I have to remind myself of that. This is the difference. This is the difference between existing and living.
Yeah.
Like, are you going to take the fucking stairs or are you going to take the escalator? It's such a simple thing.
Yeah.
But
those are like the little things that people, maybe they don't even think about. Oh, wow, like I'd probably be healthier if I just only took the stairs. Like, think of it. We just get so programmed and we just like follow, and like everyone's going on the escalator, so they go on the escalator. They don't even think about, oh, wait, I didn't get to go a chance to go to the gym today, or oh, I just sat at the office all day. Like, I should do that to get my steps in, to activate these muscles in my legs. Like, but it's sometimes, that's what I'm saying, like those simple things. You start just doing all those changes, you don't need the red light bed, you don't need the hyperbaric, you don't need the ice bath. It's like, those are way more important. It's like, learn how to move, learn what to put in or on your body. It's just crazy. And even your mental health, like meditation, breath work, changing your thought patterns and thinking how to like positively react to things and feel emotions. Like, those are free. You just need to be taught what to do.
And from my experience, and I don't think I'm unique, and I would imagine that you probably have a similar experience, once you start doing those things, you really look forward to it.
Yeah.
Like, I know that once this podcast is over, I'm going to get my shit together and I'm going to walk from here down to Bleecker Street. It's going to be an hour and change. I'm going to meet a friend for coffee, and then I'm going to get in the car and drive home. Yeah. And I can't wait to do it, because not only does it help me obviously physically, but spiritually and mentally, that movement, which we never really talk about in the world of healthcare.
No.
Like the spiritual mental component of like doing things that actually give you a sense of winning and accomplishment that are so easy and free.
Yeah. And if you don't feel good and you want to feel better, try. And once you start seeing, oh wow, that one little thing made a difference, it's hard to stop doing those things, like you were saying, and you end up not only enjoying it, but there's no limit with how good you can feel, and like there's always feeling better. And the more that you start adding these things and you realize like, oh, I thought I felt good, I didn't need to do anything because I felt great. And you're like, oh wait, I didn't know that I could feel this way. And it's addicting, right? It's addicting to know like that you can always feel better.
I think that's a great way to end, man. This was such an awesome conversation. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
I probably could sit here and talk to you for 7 hours straight.
Yeah. Next time we'll do it in a sauna or ice bath.
I like that idea. Where can the listeners follow your journey?
Yeah. I mean, social media is probably the best, at Dr. Jonathan Leary or at Remedy Place. And we just launched our free educational platform. It's called The Framework. It's on the Remedy Place website. There's nothing gimmicky there. There's nothing for sales. It doesn't promote services. It is strictly, different educational tools and trainings that anyone could do anywhere with any budget. Just teaching you how to put the control back in your hands. So I think those are the best ways to follow along. And if you're in a city that we're in, come and enjoy the club, or even come sit in the club, get to meet cool people, spend time with the team. But we're here to help.
Jonathan, thank you so much. This was a podcast that I was really looking forward to, because I really do believe in preventative care. I really do believe that if you get ahead of these things, and it doesn't mean that nothing's going to happen. It doesn't mean that you're not going to come into, get bitten by a tick like I did and end up with some, shitty autoimmune disease like Lyme disease. But I do know for sure. People ask me, how do you keep your Lyme flare-ups at bay? And my answer to them is, I walk every day. I'm conscious about what I put into my body. I do contrast therapy because infrared sauna is known to be great for Lyme disease. So like there's things that I can do every single day that are really allowing me to feel confident in staying ahead of my health, as opposed to waiting for something to happen and then having to call for help when I'm on the floor and really, potentially too far gone. And I just knew that this was going to be an awesome conversation to talk about things like that. And, for anybody who is in New York, in and around New York, in and around LA, who wants to partake in one of the most epic social wellness experiences on the planet, do yourself a favor and make your way over to Remedy Place. And I'm sure that there's going to be more popping up around the country. I'm really excited about this one. And I think that you should definitely give this podcast a share with someone who you think can hear it, someone who potentially is struggling with just making those like very, very minimal changes in their lives to just be better, because no one's coming. That's the truth. No one's coming to save you or that person that you could potentially be sharing this podcast with. People need to be motivated and then ultimately instill discipline into their lives to be better when it comes to their health. So I really appreciate you guys for tuning into the podcast. It really means a lot to me. This is one of my favorite things to do with the Creatures of Habit brand. It gives me an opportunity to connect with people and then ultimately share those stories with you. If you enjoyed this, the number one request, share it with a friend, family member, coworker, anyone who you think would appreciate it. The second request, give us a 5-star rating. That would really, really help us, increase the availability of the podcast and put us out there in front of many more people. And then if you're really feeling generous, write us a review. Not a bad one, only a good one. If you want to write a bad one, you can DM me, and we'll take it from there. But I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of this journey. Until the next one, peace.